All right, guys, we need to talk Kang. Rework incoming? I'm thinking so. Loki season 2 is about to be here for us, and it's going to bring a lot of hype. It's the Loki season, so you know they're going to likely do something with it. They did this with Nick Fury and Secret Invasion, so I think they're going to keep doing it. And honestly, I could see Spectrum get touched in November as well. And one of the big bads that is not playing like they're a big bad is Kang. And Kang should feel intimidating, scary, somebody that we want to have in our decks. So join me in this video and in the comments below to talk about the Kang reworks we want to see, could see, that'll help this be a better card and hopefully be a big bad that we would look to spend tokens on. Let's dive in. So Kang, I was in the Kang gang, and I tell you, I remember when I first started the game, I was content creating. I saw this guy come. I'm like, you know what? I should spend some money to get this guy because I'm a new content creator in this world. Maybe if I get him, I could showcase some decks. And I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I got him. I was super excited about it. I played him. I was loving him. But the more I used him, the more people figured it out. It just seemed to be like he was very lackluster. And if you're unfamiliar, on a reveal, you look at what your opponent did and then you restart the turn. So you get to see what they do. Now, they get to still change everything that they could do. So there is some mind games there. I actually really like the aspect of Kang where it makes the opponent think after they know you have Kang, so like in a conquest or a battle, that they go, is this a snap because it's Kang or is this a snap because they actually are going to win? That aspect I think is cool. I like it. It's fun, but it doesn't always necessarily help. My early seasons with Kang, I definitely got to Infinite with him and he was a big help there. But the truth is he's just not a card that you put in really any decks except for the one that's the She-Not. And you want to make sure that there's a turn 7. So you might play this on turn 6 to make sure your opponent is not going to change a location. That's really the only real good solid use for Kang right now. Everything else is just sort of okay. I like to go to snap.fan and look at the specific card stats that they've got here. It's really nice. You can do the different days and all that sort of thing. So let's look at Kang, especially compared to when it's, you know, against another big bad or anything like that. So we're going to look at the stats sorted by how often it's seen to start. Let's see if we see any big bads. I'm not seeing anything, and you'll see that, you know, a lot of these cards are not very popular and it's not something that you'd really even be interested in playing. I mean, some people have them here and there, but nothing crazy. Okay, here's Kang. So definitely the lowest big bad. By far, 6,347. What's the next big bad that's closest to Kang as far as least used? The next closest is High Evo at 52,000 games compared to what? It was like 6 for Kang. That's honestly crazy. That's like 9 times more. Galactus real close to High Evo, and then Thanos a little bit higher. So clearly Kang is an outlier here. Now, I think we already know the answer to this, but just for scientific purposes, let's just look at the win percentage and see how close he is at the bottom. Oh Lord, 52%. So a little higher than 50, but it's let's see who's that compared to, like Snowguard. Okay, again, that's pretty poor. Now, how close is that to the next big bad again? All right, Galactus is actually not that much better. All right, then we've got Thanos around the 54 to 55% range. And then finally, at the end here, we've got High Evo, which again is just part of the reason why I think that he's likely the best big bad and the one that you typically want to buy first. This is clearly showing Kang being towards the bottom of this list. The win percent is not good. High Evolutionary obviously sticks out. Yes, Kang is similar to Galactus, but Galactus has a high risk type situation, so I could see that win percentage being pretty bad. We're looking about win drawn win percentages. Yikes, win drawn 51.92%. That is bad. I mean, and look, just looking at this, the cube rates here, regardless of, you know, what main column, when played, when drawn in deck, they're all bad. They're just, I mean, that is not a cube rate you want. So we've got some ideas how to change Kang. So the first is to sort of leave him how he is with one stipulation. And that is your opponent has to play the same cards that they did that turn, but they do not have to play it in the same location. So they can change it up, but you will know, hey, they're going to lay down a She-Hulk and that's for 4 costs and another 2 cost card, or they're going to be, you know, multiple She-Hulks and an Infinite, or they're going to arrow you. That way, you know, those are the cards that are being played, but you just don't know where it's at. I feel like it gives you a little bit of an advantage and worthwhile to play Kang. The text for that might be too hard to fit in something because they always talk they being second dinner. That is something that they want to keep very intuitive and short. Okay, now this one, probably a little bit too OP, but I'm going to say it. because I don't know, it's a big bad. We got to talk about it. Kang always draws another card. What I mean by that is the only time Kang will draw a card is if he gets into your hand on turn 5 and you play him on turn 5, or if he gets into your hand on turn 6 and you play them on turn 6. That's actually a nice way to guarantee and get another card, because then it draws, because you drew Kang. So instead of drawing Kang, you draw whatever that other card is. If you get him before any of those turns, it doesn't work that way. You just get what you get. So it'd be really nice to be able to thin the deck a little bit while gaining some information. Now, is that too OP? You know, Kang with maybe an America Chavez, it's like, oh, well, now I'm down to the exact deck that I want. I don't have any risks. I know I'm always going to get these. I build to that. Yeah, I could see that. That might be something that's a little bit too much. But I think, again, with a big bad, it's something that you'd want to do. You're not guaranteed to draw a good card. It might be not the card you want. I don't know, with him and Crystal, like, does that just get, yeah, I got my whole deck, I'm good. Yeah, I know. And I know that is something that Glenn specifically says, that they want to be careful with draw cards. So I don't expect this one, just being real, but I wanted to bring it up because I thought the idea of it could be interesting. And look, I'm going to take that second dinner approach where we're just going to learn from things. We're going to throw them out there and see what people think, see what could possibly be good or bad about something. All right, the next suggestion. This one, what about if Kang, is going to show what your opponent does, copies one of the cards your opponent plays and puts it in your hand? It's like a leader, but it's not a leader because it's just saying, well, I'm going to get one of those cards and now I have it too. I don't know if I'd want to add power to it or not because you're already seeing what they're doing. So that's, you know, an advantage right there. But I think it could be cool. Now, look, somebody could play Agent 13 in a Devil Dino and you get Agent 13. And it's like, oh, all right, that stinks. That's terrible. Or a Wasp that does nothing for you. So it's got some risks to it. I think it could be something that work. Obviously, you've got to have the space in your hand, but I think something along those lines could be usable. And someone might really go like, look, I don't mind using Kang because now I'm going to see what they do and I'm going to get their card. It could be built and put in to those collector dino decks. It's like, well, look, I'm going to play this. I'm going to see what they got and I'm going to get another card. So this is perfect. And if it is a collector type deck, that adds a point for collector because it comes to your hand from another location. So it's actually kind of nice. Doesn't feel too overpowered. I think it could be something that works. You don't have to change any of the cost or power with the card at this point. Okay, so this last one, don't leave, please. Make Kang like Snow Guard. Don't leave, stay. All right, hear me out. Hear me out. Legit, please. Please. All right. So give him, Kang, the ability to be different variants, different types of cards. Like there's the Bear and the Hawk. He can be different variants of himself. And I don't mean that in the game of Snap, but like if you watch Loki or anything, like there's variants, right? Kang has different variants. So like Victor Timely, Ramatut, Immortus, He Who Remains. There's a bunch of Nathaniel Richard, whatever. Now, you don't want to have them endless. Maybe make 3-ish. You know, I think that's a good number. Now, I don't know if you should probably change the cost and power to these because of each one of these, they're different. They would do different things. And the part I would do different than Snow Guard is you can tap the card. And as you tap it, it just goes to the next, whatever the next one is. And based on the game, you pick which one you want to use. So that concept right there, is that concept possible? Because if it's not, then everything else I'm about to suggest might not work. But I think it could be super, super cool and give the person with Kang the ability to manipulate time, to manipulate things based on what they need and want, which I think plays into the lore of Kang. So now the question is, what abilities would you give the cards? Well, first let's do Ramatut, right? So Ramatut, and obviously I've got that variant up here, bring back your cards that have been destroyed, but not by you. So if you got a bunch of cards shanged, or if you played something on Death's Domain, Kang brings them back. Anything you didn't destroy brings back. Now, again, that could be OP, but it's location-based, which is RNG, and it's RNG based on what your opponent does to you. But it also helps someone think, well, shoot, should I Shang them? People want some counters to Shang. This, I mean, obviously we got armor, we got Cosmo, I get that. But it makes people think twice about, should I Shang this? Now, null is another reason that you might want to think twice about it. But this would give it another thing to think about. If I destroy somebody's card and they have Kang, they're just going to bring him back. If I Yandu it, if I Lady Deathstrike it, for some reason, maybe it's a 7-turn game, Alioth gets played on turn 6, I Kang on turn 7. Like all of these things could work pretty good. And I think it's, I mean, the description would be super short. Of all the suggestions, I personally like this one the best. It's, again, it's not insane change, but it would be pretty strong. Victor Timely is in Loki season 2, so I wanted to do something with that as well. I think maybe an adjustment there could maybe be some energy gains I struggled with that a little bit because it's like, well, how much energy would you give? I was like, 1, we already got cards that do that. So maybe 2 energy the next turn. So you could only be playing this on 5 or 6. And if it's a 7-turn game, it helps. But really, you're playing Kang on 5, which is sort of meant to be. So you see what someone does, and you gain 2 energy for turn 6. It's not a huge impact, but it could be good. You on turn 6, you could play more cards. Energy generation is huge. So maybe it's 1 on turn 5 and 1 on turn 6. That could be interesting, where it's like, so you play Kang and you get 1 extra energy this turn and 1 extra energy next turn. This one might feel a little too OP too, but I like the idea of Victor Timely being some sort of inventor, giving yourself a resource that is helpful. All right, so this is a buckle up one, I think. So this one's going to be He Who Remains, and I'm just tying into that name. You destroy everything except Kang, so it would have to have some power to it. It could be 1 power at this location if both players have it filled. So it would need to mean 4 cards from your opponent, and this would have to be the 4th card from your hand. So you would have to have committed a lot of resources there, or a card like Brood that fills it up, to be able to play Kang to destroy everything else. And so is your opponent. So the niche effect of this and ability to play it in that format would be very, very small. But wait, let's go to the front of this. I'm saying that you could tap your card and change any one of these. Now, if I could do all of these, that's insane. And that's where it's like, yeah, maybe 3 is too much, or maybe some of these need to be brought down, because if you can tap a card and do all of this, I mean, who's not going to play this card? I'm already thinking like, dude, you're going way, this is too much. Like, yeah, individually these could be good, but maybe it's too much. So if they were able to tap a card and do something like that, maybe it wouldn't destroy every card here. It would destroy 2 random cards, but maybe those 2 cards are yours. And the last one we're going to talk about is Immortus. And honestly, it's just Kang still acts the way he does. So the rework of this one is the tapping. This would be a potential 4th option, which would be insane. But the option is you could tap into it. It's Immortus. He just works the exact same way he does now. You get to see what your opponent did and rewind. That's it. Nothing more to it. So you tap and pick the potential, you want to see what they did, they rewind, and you're happy, and then you tap again, or you don't like that one and you tap it another time, you get to He Who Remains. You're like, yeah, I need to destroy that location because it's all full, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Tap again instead, because that doesn't work, because your opponent shanged you. It's like, I've got all this stuff destroyed. I tap it. All right, now I'm going to play this, and it's going to bring back my cards that got destroyed by my opponent, or maybe a location. Or no, you know what? I need energy this turn and next, so I'm going to use Victor Timely version of Kang, and I play that one. Again, 4 options, potentially that strong, might be too much. It's like a combination of Thanos and 4 different cards. It's like, this card has become way too OP. So maybe it's just 2. Maybe it's 2. And maybe you take down some of the versions of it. But I think regardless, Kang needs a rework. He needs something done to him. I don't expect that last one I mentioned. Look, that was more for fun. I fully don't expect that to happen. I wanted to talk about it, throw some ideas like that out there for maybe other cards that could come into game in the future. I think it would be super cool because it's a big bad, but again, it could get super complicated. That might be hella buggy as well. Let me know what your thoughts are as far as how you would change Kang. Do you think he's going to get changed this month? I still think it is. I think patch time, we're going to get a Kang rework. We talked about this on the Discord a little bit. That is linked in the description below. If you want to follow along on Twitter, all that stuff, it's down there as well, Twitch, etc. Appreciate you making it this far. If you want to help support the channel further, please consider hammering down that like button, share with your aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews. And until next time, we hope you have a wonderful day.